All right, let's do a quick little video here on graphing. All right. Graphs, useful tool when it comes to analyzing results. They're used to represent data. There are different types of graphs depending on the type of data that you're being represented. Most of the time in here, we're going to be using the line graph. All right, we're showing a relationship between two variables. Independent along the x-axis and the dependent along the y-axis. All right, so let's say we got a little data table here. All right, just threw an example out here. So our independent variable we always list on the left. So that is going to be our light intensity. All right, and we measure light intensity in a unit called foot candles. All right, don't worry about what that is. It's not important at this time. All right, so let's say we've got 100 to 700 foot candles of light intensity on the left. On the right, the number of bubbles we get every 5 minutes is listed down the right. That's our dependent variable. And what they're really talking about is, let me give you a scenario. If you took a plant and when they put a plant underwater, the plant is going to give off oxygen, and those oxygen, you can see that oxygen with bubbles that are coming up to the surface, all right? And so what they did was they exposed this plant to different intensities of light, and then they measured and counted how many bubbles they got every 5 minutes off this plant, all right? And you can see that as our light intensity went up, the number of bubbles also went up. By the way, we call that a direct relationship. All right? If the dependent variable goes up as the independent variable goes up, that's called a direct relationship. All right? All right, so little checklist. So now we're going to construct our line graph. All right, we have our data in our data table. We're going to construct a line graph. All right, first, we're going to provide an appropriate title. So remember in the other video I told you how we do a title, the effect of independent on dependent. We're going to label the x-axis with the independent variable and include units. So remember, our independent variable was light intensity in foot candles. So that's how we're going to label the x-axis. Remember, the x-axis is your horizontal axis. Okay? Then we're going to plot a scale. And remember, whenever you create your scale, it has to fit all the data, and every single line on the graph, every single block along our scale has to be the same amount of interval. All right? So you can't start counting, for example, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. It has to be the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 4, 6, 8. The interval from one to the next has to be the same. All right, then we're going to label our y-axis or our vertical axis. That has our dependent variable. If you remember, our dependent variable was the number of bubbles per 5 minutes. So we're going to label that. Then we're going to plot an appropriate scale. Same principle. Got to use an equal interval as you work your way up the scale. Then we're going to plot our data points. Don't forget to circle your points for a couple different reasons. One, it makes it easier to find the point after you draw your line, if your point isn't very big. And two, it kind of represents that we are humans and we can make mistakes, and so we're plotting. We may not plot exactly where the point should go, and so that circle kind of represents that the point could fall in there, all right? And then we're going to connect our data points. Remember, you don't draw your line beyond your data points because even though you may think you know where it's going, we don't have the actual data to show that. So we're only drawing the line representing the data that we actually have. And then if necessary, provide a key. I mean, a time when you might need a key is, let's say you're plotting more than one on the same set of axes. So you might do two different colors, or you might do circle points on one line and put a square around them on the other, whatever. But you're going to provide a key that represents that if that is necessary. Hmm? And I think we'll call that one a day for right there.